Hey, good morning. This is Dan, and I'm coming to you from my house. It's actually Saturday night here, but I want to wish you a happy, snowy Sunday morning. I hope you're safe and sound. Maybe you're starting that second cup of coffee right now, and I'm so glad you've joined us, especially if this is your first time to be with us at Calvary. Today's a little different, obviously. We got word from Knoxville Police and from several of the weather sources that it's probably not a good idea this morning to get out. Some of the secondary roads and neighborhood roads and rural areas are still iced over from last night. Most of our members don't live real close to Calvary, so this is our option, and we're glad to be together at least this way. Last week, we began a brand new series called Step Forward, and what we're doing is just thinking about small steps and big steps that we can take this year to really draw closer to Christ and to really be the people that He wants us to be, as individuals. I want that. I want to be closer. I want to be deeper in with Jesus at the end of this year than I am right now. And I want our church to be that way. I want us to do that as a fellowship and as a community. A lot of folks think that when Jesus says things like, for instance, deny yourself, that means denying things, specific items in your life or actions or behaviors. And that's kind of missing the point. Actually, it's missing the point completely. The essence of that verse is not to deny yourself so much like I'm not going to take a bite of chocolate or I'm not going to get a newer car, even though maybe, you need one. What this is talking about, what Jesus meant was that it's about denying yourself of yourself, your self-made identity, your desires, your man-made convictions, all your own righteousness that you try to bring to the table, the traditions that you've inherited, maybe some of those you've just grown really fond of, and any, I'll say, anti-scriptural positions that you've taken about, whatever the issue is in life. The things that you think make you, they're outside of Christ. Here's a couple of scriptures. One is referring to what we just talked about, Matthew 16:24. It says, "Then Jesus told his disciples, 'If anyone come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross and follow me.'" It's an unusual thing to say. Verse 25, "For whoever would save his life will lose it. Whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what would it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul?" In Mark chapter 1, verse 16 says this, "Passing along the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and Andrew, the brother of Simon, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And Jesus said to them, 'Follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men.'" Verse 18, "And immediately they left their nets, and they followed him. And going on a little further, he saw James, the son of Zebedee, and John, his brother, who were in their boat mending the nets. And immediately he called them, and they left their father, Zebedee, in the boat with the hired servants, and they followed him." Now, Matthew 16:24, after inviting the disciples to follow him, then Jesus gives some instruction on how to do that. And one of the big things he says is let him deny himself. Jesus says about the people who will follow him that from this point forward, going into the future, you're going to deny yourself. And I was interested in this word deny, arpaneomai. It's an interesting word, but it means to utterly disown something, to renounce something. It has this heightened sense of feeling and action to it. It's not just simply saying, "Oh no, you go first," or "Oh no thanks to that second piece of pie." It's a little bigger, a little deeper than that. Rather, Jesus means that the person you were before you followed him can no longer exist. That person is crucified to Christ, and now we have a new identity that is in him. That is in him. It's a different kind of relationship, and it changes us. Paul said we become new creations at that moment. At another place in time, earlier in the Gospel of John, Jesus tried to explain it this way. He said, you've got to be born again. You've got to start over, and think of it like that. So he has this insistence on renouncing our former life. And to some, that may feel radical. That may sound like, wow, he goes so far. And you may feel even a little offended or defensive about that. And think, wow, surely Jesus isn't, asking people to do what it sounds like, and tell somebody to just deny themselves, But honestly, that is what he's asking, and where he takes us, and it's a brand new life, and it's absolutely worth that. And there are these examples from Scripture that support the strength, particularly not only of that concept, this whole new way of living, but that particular Greek word, deny. Now, if you were with us last week, you remember we read the story about Jesus telling this rich young man, you want to follow me, you need to sell everything you have. Mark's gospel includes a story of Jesus calling his first disciples to follow him. And in that story, this invitation, to Peter leads to this strong reaction of this word deny, where they just step away. Peter, Andrew, James, and John, all of them worked as fishermen. But when Jesus called them away, they just dropped everything, and they did that. In fact, the text here says they immediately left their livelihood behind. James and John, I don't know, it's kind of humorous to me that they even left their father in the boat. In Mark chapter 1, verse 20, it says, dad's just still sitting in the boat, and they just walk away. Something big was going on here. I think sometimes we view self-denial in a negative sense. We think, well, what bad thing do I need to stop doing? Or is there something I need to give up, or something I begin to do that maybe I don't really want to do, but I should do it? We always have that idea, that feeling of emotion of sacrifice. But there was nothing wrong with Simon and Andrew's vocation. That was not a sinful thing by any means, but they left it for Jesus. Leaving your father behind in a boat to follow Jesus. That doesn't mean that James and John didn't have a great relationship with their dad. I suppose it was really good. It was probably a great relationship. That's not the point. It's anything outside of Christ. That's not part of him. That's not what he wants for his righteousness. He tells us to utterly renounce the person that we were and to disown that identity when we follow him. It's an invitation not just to say no to something, but also to say yes to this relationship with Jesus. So the next step for you in following Jesus may be one of the most difficult, and one that may not take place instantly, even though I know when I trusted Christ, it was just this overwhelming spiritual crisis. It was this a big event in my life, but there was so much more to come. It's a step that you're going to take inch by inch, day by day. Self-denial doesn't come naturally. It doesn't always come easily, but ultimately, Jesus invites us to do that. And the beautiful thing is you're not on your own when you do this, because it happens through the indwelling presence of the Holy Spirit. We have the gift of his Spirit. And the wonderful thing he does in our life is that he grows this fruit, the fruit of self-control into our life, where what didn't seem natural at one point in your life but becomes more so. And that doesn't mean that you can't nurture that by incorporating a practice of self-control, into the rhythm of your day, becoming more self-aware in those moments, and just leaning into that and saying, God, I just really want you to open that up. And it's going to look different for every person. This is not a one-size-fits-all approach. You and I are different. You and your spouse, your roommate, your friends, you're different. And God is working uniquely in very specific and beautiful ways in each of us, especially in this area, I think, of self-denial. When I was a kid, we always went to three things every year. We went to the Mid-South Fair, we went to the rodeo, and we went to the circus. And one of the highlights of the circus was always the tightrope walker. I can't say that word really, really well, but it would be a man or a woman there out on this thin line, suspended way above, everybody's heads, and then had this long pole. Now, I didn't know at the time that pole was very strategic and that it was weighted on both ends, and it provides a great deal of balance for that person, and it lowers their center of gravity to a place where it makes it a lot easier to walk that tightrope. The tightrope walkers take as little as possible with them. They don't have their cell phones, they don't have their car keys or anything like that with them. They just walk out there, and just that pole that makes it possible for them to be able to do that. Because the more they try to take, the more you hold on to, the harder it is to have a balanced journey. And you can kind of see where I'm going with that. When Jesus asks us to deny ourselves, he understands that to truly follow him, you're going to be so distracted, and you're going to be pulled in other directions, and you're going to be pulled back maybe into an old life or into the flesh. And he says you can't be weighed down by the cares of that. So you need to die to those things, just to consider those things gone. And I found that does help you in this whole new life. In high school, I ran track. I really ran like from what is middle school now all the way through, and just kind of kept running. And one of my favorite events was relay race. That's what I did. Every runner runs the same distance. But the key, of course, not only your speed, but it's that pass you make of the baton, how quickly you can do that, how smoothly you can do that. And we would practice that again and again and again until we could get that down where it was just really quick and smooth and effortless to let go of that. That was absolutely necessary to win the race. And in the life of faith, in this Christ life that we have in Jesus, an exchange life, he calls us to pass control of our life to him. And the first time you do that, the first several times or for a while, when you're growing in faith, it may seem awkward. You think, oh, I dropped the baton, or it didn't go so smoothly. But as you continue to do that, it happens more quickly, and it happens more naturally. So I want to encourage you to continue that act of passing that's repeated. And it's on a daily basis, and there's so much blessing there. There's so much joy, so much freedom that comes as a part of that. Now, I don't know what you got planned for the rest of the day. Maybe you're going to go out sledding. That's what our guys like to do. Maybe you're just going to build a snowman, or maybe just look out the window and watch it. We saw some deer yesterday out our window, and that was kind of really nice just to watch them in the backyard. But I hope you enjoy this day, and I hope God blesses you. And I wish for you grace and peace. Thank you.